Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good middle of the night, whenever you're watching this. All right, we're going to do a Bible study, and this one's a little bit tricky, so bear with me. All right. So, there are a lot of people who claim that because Jesus didn't put himself on equal footing with God, that he wasn't God. Case in point, this is Matthew 24, verse 36. Says, "No one knows about the day or hour, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father." So people claim that because Jesus says only the Father knows, that he is somehow limited, that he is somehow not God. Well, he was limited because Jesus came to earth as a human. He chose to leave heaven. He was sent here to be a human, but he has to have limitations. He has to be born. He's born of a virgin. He has to be fed as a baby. He has to learn, grow. People say Jesus was perfect. Well, I don't think the implication of perfect is in the right thought process. Jesus was perfect as in he was sinless, but Jesus was still human. He had to make mistakes. He couldn't automatically know how to do math and reading and writing. He had to learn. It did say when he was 12 that he went into the temple and was able to teach like he was a person that taught from knowing information, not just reciting it. But Jesus had limitations. Well, how did he have limitations? Okay. Jesus felt pain because Jesus was tortured. Jesus also was tempted. The Bible says in James 1:13, that God cannot be tempted. Jesus had to go through temptation. He had to prove himself, prove whether or not he was willing to stay true to God or fail and submit to Satan's temptation. He had to go through that. And Jesus died on the cross. So he had limitations. And I believe that when Jesus left heaven, because we all know, well, I don't say we all know, but the Bible claims that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was Jesus, and the Word was God. So Jesus was in the beginning with God, but he submitted himself to become a human form that took on human limitations. And when the Bible says that, when Jesus actually says that only the Father knows and not him, he's showing that he had limitations. Now, Jesus was also able to predict the future, the whole fall of the temple, the temple's destruction that happened in around 70 A.D. He also told many of his disciples how they were going to die. So Jesus knew some elements of the future, but he was limited. So just because we think that Jesus is saying, I don't know what the Father knows, doesn't mean it wasn't the plan. Jesus had to come to earth to die on a cross. He had to feel the pain. If God came down from heaven, didn't feel pain, couldn't be killed, then there would be no sacrifice. There would be no relationship that we could have with God. Jesus says in John 3:16, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life." But John 3:17 says, "For he did not come into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world." And that's the whole point. God, being all powerful, all knowing, all everything, couldn't come in God form and come here and sacrifice himself on a cross because he couldn't feel pain, he couldn't die, he couldn't be tempted. But Jesus could. in his human form. Now, I believe wholeheartedly, I've heard some people say, well, Jesus doesn't know the time, only the Father. And I'm like, I only think that meant when he was on earth. I'm pretty sure now he knows exactly when everything's going to happen and how it's going to happen. I don't think Jesus is limited at all, because when he died and when he was resurrected back into perfection. He does still bear the marks, from what I understand. And he was able to show that to Thomas, who said, who doubted that Jesus rose. But God and Jesus is, I believe, unlimited in power now. He has taken his rightful place on the throne, which the Bible says he would. And now he is king forever. And a lot of people don't realize this, but the crucifixion was his coronation. They put the robe on him. They put the crown of thorns on him. They put the sign above his head that said King of the Jews. And the Jews were really hot. The religious leaders were really hot. They did not want that sign to be above his head. But Pilate had said they wrote it, and it's there, and he's leaving it. They couldn't do anything about it. So Jesus' crucifixion was his coronation. And now he is God. Unlimited. But just because our limited minds think that God can't do something because he's somehow limited. God can do whatever he wants. He is an all-powerful, all-knowing God that can make a rock that he can't pick up if he wanted to. He's not going to. He sent Jesus here as a sacrifice, a willing sacrifice. He had to make himself in a form that was limited. And so when you get into an argument, or you get into a discussion, or you get into watching videos about this, you have to understand that Jesus had to be limited in his human form, or else his sacrifice would have been worthless. So anyway, I hope that clears some stuff up. I hope the internet doesn't confuse you anymore. I'm sure it will. It confuses me sometimes. Hey, real quick, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. It'll help me out quite a bit. And share this with all your friends and your atheist friends who don't know God and are maybe confused on this subject. Take care. God bless. Love you guys. Bye.